So it's hard picking movies that we have not seen, but this one stuck out to me in part because it's also celebrating 50 years. And it's just been brought up a lot. It was recently released by the Criterion Collection on Blu-ray not too long ago. And filmmakers like Spike Lee and John Singleton have praised it as being a very formative movie when they were watching movies, becoming directors. And it is from 1975, Cooley High, supposedly the ultimate black high school movie, kind of in an era wedged between American Graffiti and Grease. And so you can, and in an era when blaxploitation movies kind of reached its height. And this is a really cool movie. It's set in Chicago, Southside Chicago, Cabrini Green. 1964 is when it's set. And even though the name of the movie is Cooley High, it's not necessarily about the high school. It's really about two high school students who go there. Their names are Preach and Cochise. And they're played by Glynn Turman, who was, I think, 31 when he made the movie. But I think he looks like a high schooler. And Lawrence-Hilton-Jacobs. And I think it's kind of set over the course of maybe a few days in their lives. And, you know, they run into kind of the typical teenage antics. Of the opening scene, they ditch school, they go to the zoo, and a gorilla throws shit on one of them, which was kind of a shocking moment in the movie, even though the shit looked really fake. There's another scene where Preach gambles a little bit in the restaurant. And my favorite character in the movie is Martha, and she comes at them with a big knife. I like that a lot. There's another scene where they joyride a stolen car and do a police chase, in a scene that I think if it was refilmed in 2025 would be very different. I think it kind of takes a very kind of frivolous look at police chasing down black youth in a somewhat comic setting. But I do think that scene it does come back to haunt the characters toward the end of the movie. Cochise and Preach, we meet their families a little bit. We meet their girlfriends a little bit. Preach is kind of lusting after this girl named, I can't remember her name in the movie because I'm not seeing it on here. Brenda. Yep. And they go to a house party. It's a cool movie. I liked it. I liked the vibe that it had. It introduced the characters in, I thought, a really organic, natural way. I love the soundtrack. And if you read about this movie, one of the things that made it so popular with audiences, because it was a movie that I believe was shot for $900,000 and it made $13 million, was because it was kind of the movie that reintroduced Motown back to the general audience. Of course, by 1975, people were listening to, the Village People and ABBA, and disco was king, and so it was kind of cool to hear some wonderful songs. And I think this movie has one of the best soundtracks almost of any movie that maybe I've ever seen. But you get some Diana Ross and the Supremes, some Marvin Gaye in this movie. It's just at the Four Tops. I love the music in this movie, and it does a better job of bringing Motown back to life than The Big Chill ever did. It's a cool movie. Supposedly, it's based a bit on the true experiences of the writer of the movie, whose name was Eric Monty, and he went on to write the sitcom Good Times, which What's Happening, which was kind of loosely based on Cooley High. The director is Michael Schultz. He later went on to do Car Wash and Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. That he did, I think, mostly TV afterwards. But it's a cool movie. It has a great spontaneity to it, a great energy to it. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And the Criterion disc, which I forgot to bring with me, has a lot of good features on it. Michael Schultz and the actors kind of talk about how they made it for a very small budget. My favorite anecdote was how, when you see the scene, I believe when Cochise comes back to his house. No, I'm sorry. I think it's Preach. I'm sorry. Who has the mom that's working all day? And she says, I can't believe that you left. Yeah, Preach's mom. That was a real, that she was not a trained actor. She was someone that they found at Cabrini Green. And when she says, I can't do this anymore, that was an unscripted line. And she was talking about filming. She wasn't talking about it in character. She was like, I can't keep doing these takes anymore. It's getting really annoying. So I thought that was kind of fun and engaging. There's a nice kind of Yo Teach reference with a character played by Garrett Morris of future Saturday Night Live fame called Mr. Mason. He does a nice Jason Schwartzman impersonation in this movie. It's a fun one. Solid 3 stars. I enjoyed it from start to finish.
Yeah, I'm going 3 stars with this one too. It was distracting to watch Preach and know it's Glynn Turman, because there would be random faces he'd make. I'm like, how is that face not being made by a 70-year-old right now? Like that, like it just is that his face.
Yeah, he's one of those actors you never knew that he was a young man.
yeah, exactly. It was interesting to see Garrett Morris. This had to be a shot pre SNL.
Yeah.
because SNL started in the fall of 1975. So that was interesting to see. This is, I was trying to think, like, this is like if like Dazed and Confused was shot in the South Side of Chicago in the 60s, or set in South Side of Chicago in the 60s, this would be it, right? There's a little bit of Ferris Bueller in there. There's a little bit of Lover's Rock in there. I'm sorry, Cochise can't play basketball. I don't care if he's getting a scholarship, but that is not a shot. I don't know what that was. It was pathetic. That's what it was. If I watched this, so I think Zach watched the Criterion. I watched this movie on Prime. If you watch it on Prime, do not read the plot description on Prime because it gives away the ending. Like what happens at the end, I was waiting to have happen like halfway through and see the fallout from it, and it's like happens 5 minutes from the end. I'm like, what? Well, that's disappointing. That kind of gave some stuff away there. I think Glynn Turman does a terrible job in the last scene. Like that, this could have been in a bad last scene in a good movie. It just doesn't feel that. I don't know. It just doesn't feel genuine. Like it could have been done so much better. The last scene. But you're right. It has a great soundtrack. It's got it's really rough, and you can tell it's like a guy making his first movie. And just trying to get it out there, man. Get it to the public, let the people decide. And that's what this movie feels like. And there's something to be admired by that, but at the same time, you also know it's a little rough. But I can see how it could be very influential as well. So
I don't think it was
a cool
his first
hangout movie.
I don't think it was his first movie. It might have been his first like bigger movie, but I think he had made a couple before.
Okay, well, yeah, it's someone still trying to make it. I'll say, but yeah, it's definitely, you can tell the influence that it's had. This was the other thing. As I was watching, so Lawrence-Hilton-Jacobs, as I'm watching Cochise, I'm looking at him like, okay, if you were to create a love child between Pete Davidson and Kel from Kenan and Kel, it's Cochise. Like that's what I saw. I saw you put Pete Davidson and Kel together and you get Cochise. That's how I saw him. I don't know why, but that's where fantastic. I was at. You like that, Todd? All right, 3 stars. It was a solid movie.
Yeah, I'm at 3 stars also.
Thrice approved.
I think it's interesting how everybody or every high school movie is like looking back like 10 years or at least, like everybody thinks, everyone's looking at the previous generation. Like everyone thinks like the previous class to them in their high school was like the most groovy or whatever. The previous generation must have really had it going on. Rick kind of gets into that in Dazed and Confused. And I think Dazed and Confused owes a lot to this movie and how it's told. But I think the closest movie to this is probably Fast Times at Ridgemont High, in like how playful it is, but it also has a serious tone and gets into some touchy things. But it does feel kind of classic. Like each scene kind of feels like something that, like watching Rebel Without a Cause for the first time or something like that. And like these scenes and these characters can be so memorable if you've seen it once. You kind of are going to remember this whole movie. And like as if you had followed them for seasons or something if it was a TV series. One character I was kind of confused by was Pooter. He's such a loser. He's like the McLovin of the movie or something. He's like that offbeat character that makes the movie just feel like authentic. Like, because every group of friends has one of those characters in it.
He's the one with the gorilla, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, the poop just looked like he got stuck with a hamburger. It was a really, really bad special effect or whatever you call that.
It looked like a chocolate ice cream is really what it looked like.
Okay. But I mean, like the chase scene, the scene where they're pretending to be cops, like the fight at the movie theater, they're all seem like classic scenes, but they're all kind of like stretching plausibility, but they're just like a riot to watch. That's why it's actually a comedy, which there are times it doesn't feel like a comedy, but those things it does. I was also kind of reminded of Snack Shack in like how...
Yeah, I thought about that one too.
How it completely flips and becomes devastating out of nowhere, because like the scene before something like the biggest nightmare situation happens, Preach is like literally fighting someone off through a door with a plunger. It's It is a very bizarre like switch in tone there. But I just love watching these characters. It might not have like the highest rating initially, but like Preach and Cheese are like so relatable and like assholes at the same time. They're just fun to watch. I could see if like rewatching this and that it would move up on my list. Glynn Turman, he's good in this. He runs like a cartoon. Like I don't know how else to describe it. He has no running posture whatsoever.
So let's freeze frame the final shot on him running.
Exactly. Similar to what you said, Terry. I was thinking that how like the end of the movie just seemed rushed. Like I could have watched another half an hour wrapping things up, but it just kind of like, okay, this is gonna happen, and then we're gonna end the movie. More closure would have been a little bit better. But yeah, it's 3 stars. I could easily watch this again tomorrow and still be completely entertained by it.
It does the Animal House thing where it says what they all did ultimately afterwards. Now, I like the movie too. I think watching some of the features about I read Odie Henderson's book on blaxploitation. He has a chapter on this movie. One of the things that the screenwriter said is that he wanted to make a movie that was set in the ghetto or set in Cabrini Green, but it wasn't poverty porn. Because the writer of the movie said that he grew up there in poverty, but it was the best childhood anyone could ever imagine. And I like that this movie keeps such a happy tone or a pretty jovial tone throughout. The characters aren't necessarily living in the best situations, but that doesn't mean that they can't have fun. They can't find enjoyment in what they do. And I like the world of this movie. Like I said, I like Martha at the restaurant with the knife. I liked everybody in the households that they lived in. I like the younger brothers and sisters and the people at the party. I thought that was really cool. That's kind of maybe the Lover's Rock of it a little bit, as you get introduced really to this predominantly Black neighborhood where people are still having a good time, and life isn't easy, but it's not poverty porn, and no one is complaining about how shitty their life is. They're having a good time. So it's a cool movie, and you can see really for John Singleton, you can see the influence on like the first 30 minutes of Boys in the Hood. I mean, there's I think quite a bit of that in the movie too. But I'm really glad we saw it. I'm glad that we liked the movie, and it's a cool movie. I also like the idea of pouring the liquor in the grave. That's a nice shout out to this movie.
Pouring out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Todd, you said it well. It needed a little bit more closure at the end, but even with it, it was good. And yeah, Preaching Cochise, they've got a little Seth and Evan to them. Like,
for sure,
they're these lovable dicks.
Absolutely.
I wanted some more Garrett Morris. Like once Garrett Morris showed up, like that was such a cool character, Mr. Mason. I wanted more Garrett Morris.
I didn't even know that's who that was. That's the guy that Lamorne Morris plays on Saturday Night, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, and the studio, the predominantly white studio, they told Michael Schultz to get a Sidney Poitier type, but Schultz was like, those don't exist. And so actually Garrett Morris had actually been a high school teacher, I believe in New York City by the time they shot this movie. So that was kind of some cool real life aspect to it.
Nice.
It's a reminder that just because a movie didn't win an Oscar and didn't make a ton of money doesn't mean it didn't make an impact. And it's cool that Criterion released this
$750,000 budget, $13 million at the box office. That's a huge hit.
Yeah. And it's only listed award on IMDb is in 2021. It was the National Film Registry named it as a winner of the National Film Preservation Board.
Yeah, we entered the National
by the Preservation Board. Yeah, entered the Preservation Film Registry.
Cool.
However you would say that.